Travis Nelson is the only black man in the Oregon House of Representatives. Well, 3 weeks ago, the freshman representative raised the issue of possible bias when he tweeted about being stopped twice in 3 days by Oregon State Police for traffic violations.
You're having a little trouble maintaining your lane?
Well, the second stop was for Nelson visibly using his cell phone.
You work for the legislator or something like that?
Yeah, I'm in the
You're what?
I'm in the legislature.
Okay, are you actually like legislator?
I'm an actual legislator.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes a difference, because if that's the case, then I'm not allowed to, or I think there's a certain law regarding that sort of stuff. I mean, I'll just take a look at your license and that stuff, and then I'll probably get you on your way, okay?
Nelson was not cited in either case, but Nelson's tweets got a lot of attention, including a statement from Oregon State Police saying, quote, "We take any allegation of racial bias seriously and are committed to eradicating racism from our profession." With the incident a couple of weeks behind us now, we reflect on the lessons and the fallout. State Representative Travis Nelson, welcome back to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Hi, thanks, Ken. Good to be with you.
Well, are you satisfied with the response from Oregon State Police since all this happened?
You know, I still have questions, and definitely have areas of concern, but I'm looking forward to having continued conversation.
Well, you admitted you may have committed traffic violations. Why tweet out the interactions if they just let you go?
Well, that tweet came on the first day of Black History Month, and it was on a Wednesday. That Monday, I had a stop that I didn't tweet about. And then Tuesday, I took to the floor of the House of Representatives to speak out against what happened with Tyree Nichols, and really reflected on how I could have been Tyree Nichols. And so for me to be pulled over the day after that really was just had me going like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, and Tyree Nichols, of course, was the black man who was beaten to death by police in Memphis, Tennessee. Do you see what happened to you as a pattern when it comes to black men behind the wheel?
Well, we know that there are definitely racial disparities when it comes to who gets pulled over, and we know that traffic stops often lead to further interaction with the law enforcement system. You know, you get stopped, they often check whether your license is good, whether you have warrants, whether the car is actually yours or not. And we know that black men and men of color are much more likely to be pulled over. I think there's data that just came out in the last day or two from the city of Portland showing that about 40 to 45% of people stopped by Portland police are still people of color, when people of color represent about 20% of Portland's population. So I'm definitely concerned. I'm somebody who's been stopped at least 40 times since I've started driving. And in talking to other black men, that's not an unusual amount of stops. It's not unusual for black men to be stopped once or twice a year on average over the course of their lives.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've had my own experiences with these kinds of traffic stops. One time in front of my very own home, explain why what many call routine traffic stops are problematic for black men.
Well, we've seen too many cases. We've seen what happened with Tyree Nichols. We know what happened with George Floyd. And when you're black and you're behind the wheel, you're oftentimes concerned that even a modestly negative interaction with law enforcement could leave you injured. And there's a long history of that in the United States. Fortunately, cops are wearing body cams now, and there is video. So the issues related to disparities in law enforcement have come to the attention of folks, and I'm thankful for that.
What was your discussion with OSP after the incident and after this became public, after people started paying attention to it?
Yeah, well, I wanted to know data on racial disparities. I also wanted to know, was there more dash cam footage? Was there more body cam footage that perhaps we hadn't seen? And I was told that there wasn't more dash cam footage, wasn't more body cam footage, that there was not audio associated with the dash cam. And conversations that we continue to have are really related to how can we continue to ensure that not only does OSP keep an eye on disparities in traffic stops, but how do we ensure that there aren't problems with individual officers as well?
And what would be your solution to that question?
You know, the legislature has done a lot in recent years to really address racial disparities in law and law enforcement interactions. If there were a magic bullet, I think we would have had it already, but I think we need to continue to work with law enforcement, hold law enforcement accountable, and to continue to collect and examine the data related to traffic stops. I That's the best thing I can come up with at this point for really mitigating the impact of racial disparities.
What's been the feedback from your fellow legislators
Related to my incident in particular?
related to your incident in particular? Yes.
Well, my legislators have been very supportive. The House Democrats came out with a supportive statement. Leader, excuse me, Julie Fahey came out with a very supportive statement on Twitter, and I've even had Republicans from across the aisle approach me with supportive comments. I think it's been interesting to many other legislators, and not just Democrats, that I was stopped twice in 2 days, when many legislators tell me that they've been stopped only once or twice, maybe 3 times in their entire lives.
Has this distracted you from your legislative duties? Has this been a distraction?
No, I've continued with my work. I'm on the House Healthcare and Behavioral Health Committees, the Business and Labor Committee, Early Childhood and Human Services Committee. I've continued to show up to committees, continued to show up and do the work, and continued to move my legislation along. And so it has not been a distraction for me. That said, it did require quite a bit of my time for a while.
Yes. In terms of the overall work of the legislature, how do you think that we're making progress on the big issue in the state, which is, of course, the homeless issue?
There's a housing package that I know Representative Dexter is working on, that's moving its way through the building. There's also a package related to opioids, and we continue to do work on mental health. So ensuring that cities and municipalities have the funding that they need and the resources that they need to continue to make progress is really the focus of the work that we're doing.
State Representative Travis Nelson, thank you for joining me on Eye on Northwest Politics again.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you for having me.